Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Sessions Cafe. I'm your host, Keri D. Singleton, and today we welcome my brother, Ricardo Grice, to the show, all the way from Baltimore. How are you, brother?
I'm great,
You didn't bring me no crabs and no Old Bay chicken wings, nothing?
Someone's going to steal it off of the Greyhound bus.
Oh, man, you should have brought me something anyway.
I wish I would, but I will next time.
That's all right. Next time I get to Baltimore, I will definitely have my Old Bay wings.
Definitely look me up.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you on the show, brother.
Appreciate you for having me, for real.
I am a fan of your work. You're the founder of Hezakya Newz and Films.
Yes, sir.
And you're also a digital archivist.
Mm-hmm.
What is a digital archivist? Let's start with that. Explain to me and my viewers what is a digital archivist.
A digital archivist is someone sort of like a librarian, but instead of they going down to a dusty basement to collect books
and microfiche
and microfilms and doing all that, we can now, with the advance of the internet, just go to digital archives. Say in Baltimore we have the Emoc Pratt Library, in New York you have the New York Public Library.
Right.
So now their archives, or Library of Congress, their archives are now digitized, which means it took years for them to take all of that and digitize into digital format. So what I do is I go through all of that. It could be a long process, and find the little, unique things that social media would like, oh wow, we found this from 1954 that says this, So, and try to apply it to what's going on today. So
wait a minute, so you mean to tell me, and we're jumping ahead with my questions, so basically the archival footage that you obtain for your videos is public, for public use? Like anybody can go get it?
Anybody can go find it.
Okay. Well, we don't want to give away too much.
Yes,
we don't want to be. But as I said, man, I am a huge fan of your work. I have been for many years, man. When did you launch Hezakya Newz, and why?
I launched it as far as officially, as professionally and industrialized, probably in 2009. Yeah, 2009 and 2010. Yeah, 2009, 2010.
Okay, and why?
And why is because I was starting doing mashups, right? Like making weird mashups with say you wanted to hear like Mary Tyler Moore theme mixed with Ghostface Killer.
Okay.
I was doing it, but as kids we always wanted, I'll sample that Barney Miller, doom, 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 doom.
Right.
But also it's kind of been commentable. You know what I'm trying to say. I've been trying to like put it together, because when I was a kid, I will archive Saturday morning cartoons on video cassette tapes.
Okay, wow.
Well, VHS with my parents. I would put the Scotch tape, on my parents' old, TV show, whatever they done taped over the time, I'll get cussed out. But it was Saturday morning cartoons, and I remember Beanie and Siegel. That was 1988. I put the Real Ghostbusters, and then from like the 90s, 91, 92, I started doing Rhapsody, Yo MTV Raps, and started archiving them, just tapes. And then over the years it get lost. So when YouTube came out, I started trying to find, like, I want to see that interview I recorded on BET or rap. I couldn't find it. So through my journey, I started finding CBS News with Dan Rather, child support hearings from 1985, and I'm like, hold on, this sounds like what's going on today. I gotta post this. And then I started editing it together, and some of it's scraps of film because it's raw footage. Now that's later on. So I found a way to kind of incorporate my mashups with all the beats, and like, let me make this unique. Let me do an intro, because this is silent raw footage where, say Boston, they might just show people walking through the projects. That footage is silent, but I don't want to waste the footage. I want you guys to see how those people were walking and shopping. So I added a little soundtrack to it.
I know you like Wu-Tang, which is why I wore this today.
Of course. I appreciate that, man. That made me so comfortable.
Well, I live in Staten Island. How do you decide which topics to cover where it relates to your channel? Because you go through a plethora of different topics, from public housing to the Charles Manson court proceedings to, all kinds of stuff in terms of different topics and like really, you really cover everything.
A cornucopia of emotions.
How do you decide which topics you're actually going to cover?
That comes from my mind and just researching, and it just depends on what mood I am. Like, I could literally be watching, like this week, I was watching the Skies of the Double in Disguise, the John Wayne Gacy series, okay? And just on that made me like, let me go find some old John Wayne Gacy footage. So this whole week I've been posting old interviews of John Wayne Gacy's neighbor. Oh, I've heard, I've asked him where my son was.
Wow.
You know, and God bless the victims of that.
Yeah.
You know, but I've actually looked up, even though I posted a lot more before, but it's just certain things like that will get me interested. Or I could be just watching a news clip about John F. Kennedy, and I'm like, oh yeah, let me go back and go find that footage of Oswald getting brought into court.
Yeah.
You know, things like that. So it's just whatever, it just comes in my mind. And I've been a researcher my whole life. Like, I would sit in the house and watch, well, not watch, but yeah, watch too, but read encyclopedias, because I used to be punished in my room a lot.
Yeah.
So you know,
that's
as
how
kids,
you spent your time.
Yeah, as kids, I spent my time with a book and just read. I would go through the encyclopedia A through Zinc and just read everything.
So we've gone over how, because I was going to ask you, how do you research your topics, but we already went over that. It is public record.
Yeah, spontaneous as well.
And you just basically decide, today I've been inspired to do some research on John Gacy. Today, you know, I've been inspired to do something on the MOVE organization in Philadelphia. It comes to you, and you decide to go ahead and do your research.
Yeah, it comes from here.
Wow.
And that's why I said nobody else can duplicate what I do, because it all comes from this mind that's been kind of conditioned for this mission since I was a child.
Wow.
So nobody can just wake up one day like, you know what? I'm gonna make a YouTube channel like his.
Right.
It doesn't work.
Right. Wow, but with some 259,000 subscribers, you have a huge following. What do you think draws people to your channel?
The realness, the rawness, and the fact that you just can't get this type of news anymore.
That's
because they just don't have it anymore. They wiped it out. They're trying to wipe it clean. And the fact that I present it to the people with no narration, like, hey guys, I got some video you need to see today. Check what they did back in 1985. Hold up, look, okay. And then they stop the video every 2 minutes so they can talk over. No, I give it to you as raw so you can make up your own mind, the viewer.
I was going to ask you, why don't you narrate? Why don't you just choose to use the archival footage to narrate itself? Is that for authenticity?
Yeah, but I don't want to be the star of the footage. I don't want to be famous. I want the footage to be famous. So I always say, Hezakya Newz, me, the person, is not famous. My videos are famous. But I want them to stand on its own artistic statement. I want people to get the information about putting me into it, judging me, because that means the information, you're judging the messenger.
Right.
Instead of just presenting of, you know, the Martin Luther King Grenada March of, you know, 1966. Instead of seeing how that happened and how that affected what's going on in the social, geopolitical climate we're in now, people are focusing on the messenger. Oh, that Baltimore guy, he don't know what's going on. So I had to take myself out of that. Let you guys judge the documentation as it stands on its own.
So let me ask you this. Of all of the probably hundreds of videos that you've compiled.
Yes, sir.
Let's pick 4. 4 will be the magic number. Let's pick 4 of your favorites. I know it's going to be difficult because there's been a lot of them, but let's pick 4 that come to your mind that are among your favorites, and explain to me why they would be your favorites. So let's start. What would be your number 4?
All right. This is a very complex question, of course, because that's like asking Jimi Hendrix, what's your favorite? Well, of course, he's gone, God bless him. But, you know, that's asking, like, you know, someone, what's your favorite album? Or Jay-Z, someone who's still alive. What's your favorite top 5 that you did? All right, because to us as artists, it's not about the views or how many people bought it. It's like how this connects with me and how well I edit this together.
Right.
So I'm gonna say,
number
speaking
4.
of John, okay, number 4 from the lowest to the highest.
Yeah, number 1 will be your favorite. So number 4.
Okay, number 4. This is hard. All right. I gotta say number 4. I'm gonna go ahead and go with child support jail.
Okay.
And this is from 1969.
Okay.
It was called.
And all of your, and just to be clear, every single one of your episodes, you indicate what year.
Yeah, it's always year 1960
So
some special report.
okay.
The only reason why, like I said, I have over 3,000 videos.
Right.
So I'm just going through here, but some of that really stands out.
This is from
1969. It's called, or maybe 67, but it's in between those years. It's called Alimony Jail. New York, it's called NYC Alimony Jail. Look it up. And basically, the woman who's talking, she's being interviewed by ABC News, and she looks like B. Arthur. Okay. She's like, my husband, they need to send those men to work. And the reason why I like it, because the intro, so you know I use my intros, it was the Monkees.
Okay.
And I love that song.
Yeah,
it's love is only sleeping down. It just reminds me of a kid, and just the fact, the way I synced it, and I had the ice cream man dancing. She said, just the Monkees. It's just so 60s. Okay. So to me, that's awesome.
That's number 4. Number 3.
Number 3 has got to be the John Wayne Gacy. This got about 400,000 views.
Okay.
Basically, he starts off. It's so edited. The clown, Gacy the clown. Yeah. I used all images. I had to go find him a Pogo the Clown where he actually painted them himself. And I have this real dark song called Thus to Comas. Diana by Comas is a prog rock band from the early 70s. The music you wouldn't put on at nighttime.
What about number 2?
Number 2, I gotta say, that's the John Gotti. Okay. The Rave Night, you know, where they walk in and it's got the down in the middle of the
And what year would that be from?
That would be the late 80s.
Late 80s?
Yeah, probably 90 or 80. I think it said 89 special report. But it's Gotti and the whole crew, the whole Gambinos, except Gravano's not there. But they're just parking their Lincolns. Really, it's a boring video. They're just parking everything. I never thought it was going to get any hits, but it was just basically boring.
You never know, yeah.
So what I did, though, is I added a soundtrack, but I edited the sound of them walking and the Lincolns parking, so you can hear it, but you can hear the 80s vibe. And they're in the middle of, Little Italy, and that video's got millions of views, and I never expected that.
So let me stop you. We're gonna go to our break, and when we come back, we're gonna figure out, or you're gonna tell me what your number 1 favorite video of all of those that appear in your archives.
Okay.
I'm interested in knowing what that is, because I have an opinion of my own, and we'll be right back. And we're back with my buddy Ricardo Grice. The brother is the king of archival footage. His channel, Hezakya Newz, is one of my favorites on YouTube. All types of stuff you can learn about from the past and the present. And we asked him before the break which one of the hundreds, if not thousands, of videos that you've edited and produced are your favorite. And I know it's hard. If you had to pick one of your videos based on creative content, which would that be for you and why?
For creative content.
Yeah.
Yes, that's like I said, it's like having all of your babies, all the when you had to pick a child, like which one is the child, you know, that's a very hard thing. But for my creative, I would look at one of my Beatle related videos, because that
for the Beatles?
that encompasses, no, but the way I edit it together. It's called John Lennon, Bigger Than Jesus. Wow. So basically it goes into the whole John Lennon's bigger than Jesus. You know, I didn't think I was great or better, you know, than Jesus Christ is a person or a thing, whatever it is. You know, but the way I edit it together, and then I looped, because you can't use Beatle music on YouTube. They'll shut you down. So I had to get creative. So I looped Taxman by George Harrison. And I looped that one private driver car, and it took me a while to just loop that on preciseness and the fact that it didn't get hit by the copyright, and it was able, and then I looped it to where, and the guy's driving a car, and it's night, but it shows the Beatles like actually, you know, there's a guy driving a car in the 60s, I looped that, and then creatively, then it shows McCartney, Ringo, and George, and Lennon going into New York City Studios to apologize for saying that, you know, that he's bigger than Jesus, quote unquote.
Wow,
right, so the thing is, the only reason why I picked that is because the way I edited it, but it was also a labor of love. Is because I've been just watching that, and it inspired me how that changed the game and popular culture, music, period, that what one man says, he didn't even say he was better than Jesus. He said, you know, we're getting more famous than Jesus. And everybody took it serious. But the fact, but it was also part of my childhood, seeing that. That affected me a lot, you know, and then just the way I was actually putting it together. It's just little things like that is satisfying to me that people don't know. So sometimes you want to have that little piece of yourself into that nobody else can have as an artist.
You have rare videos from the 1940s and every decade thereafter. So which decade do you feel has the most interesting content? I'm curious to know what historical points you have learned from creating that content as well.
Gotcha. 1970s.
Okay.
The most,
good decade.
Yes, great decade. Of course, we was born then. But it was also exciting, like so much, not only that, because it was so much film. You know, they were still using 16 millimeter at that time, but a lot of film was saved from that decade because so much stuff was happening historically and culturally, you know, with the dance, you know, with just pop culture. You know, it was just more fashionable to keep that footage. Whereas the 60s, they threw a lot of that stuff away or erased it. They didn't think it was going to be worth it, and they erased that. Well, we'll make room for more. Which a lot of stuff still happened in the 70s and 80s where they erased it. But a lot of it was saved, and I'm just, you know, just discovering, and just the whole, it's weird that everybody looks like a serial killer in the 70s, or serial killer victims.
That's true.
All the kids have the
long hippie,
the long hair and the bell bottoms, and they look like they're about to hitchhike and you know, listen to Steely Dan.
One of my favorites.
One of my favorites.
But again, what historical points have you learned from creating all of this content? What are some of the stuff that you didn't know happened, or you didn't know the full story about until you went ahead and made these videos? Give me some examples of stuff that you worked on that taught you something you didn't already know.
That's a good question.
Try.
Yes. And basically some stuff in the 80s and 70s that I didn't know about. Now let's go back to the 70s. There was 78, they buried a bunch of school kids. They kidnapped the school. I had no idea about this. It was so much weird, crazy child kind of kidnapping or you know, stuff that was going on in the late 70s that we have no idea about, that it just, you know, because it was one news report and it was buried. Basically, I think in Chinchilla school kidnapping, they basically kidnapped the whole school bus, yellow school bus, and buried the school bus in the ground and held the kids hostage with, you know, guns.
Where did this happen at?
In California. I think it was Chinchilla. You can look at it right. You can see the whole special report, Chinchilla school bus kidnapped. They buried the school bus into the ground and held the kids hostage. And the kids had to put food. They had to bring food underground for the kids. And it was just they was there for days.
And that's something that you never knew even happened.
No.
Until you started doing
Until
your
I
research.
started doing my research. So much things that happened in the late 70s that had to deal with child kidnappings. Like I said, the 70s was the I call it the serial killer heyday.
The decade.
Yeah, that was their heyday. That was their hippie Woodstock era. You know, there was no surveillance cameras. Everybody was hitchhiking.
Yeah.
Everybody was trying to run away from home to go, you know, whatever they want to do, go out west, go, you know, do their thing.
Yeah, you're right. The 70s was a wild decade, particularly in American history. Why do you feel that knowing about historical facts is important? Now, I ask you this specifically because, let's face it, today's generation typically are not that interested in history. Moreover, they seem to be very preoccupied or completely obsessed with the now and what's relevant today. So why would you feel that having a YouTube channel primarily focusing on historical content, why is that important?
Well, because like I told you before, I just wanted to do mashups and make some beats about Ghostbusters and 48 Hours. But the fact is, the people chose that's what they wanted to see. Once I started posting the historical content, the people, I guess, judged it. Ding, ding, ding. We like this. I want to see more. What else you got? So, of course, you're going to go where the thing follows you.
But why do you think that is, though?
Because people are thirsty for knowledge.
Okay.
You know, like Malcolm X has said, the people are thirsty for knowledge. They are.
Yeah.
And sometimes when they're dehydrated and you got some real good fruit for them to sample on, they're going to throw that Hot Pocket away, which is very nasty.
Yeah.
You know?
I will say this. One thing about your channel, I'll watch a video. I initially started watching your channel and the content based on stuff that I already knew about.
Right.
The move incident in Philadelphia, or you know, certain television shows, public house. You did a lot of awesome videos on Chicago public housing. So I would pick topics that I was already aware of, and then of course the algorithm would lead me to other videos of yours. And I found myself like binge watching some of the stuff that you put out there, and really getting educated on. I mean, you have a lot of videos that involve race relations, but you have just a lot of different topics. I myself will say that I've learned so much from just watching your channel.
I appreciate that.
I mean, just even on the topics that I know very well, the move bombing in Philadelphia, Cabrini Green. Obviously, I'm from Boston, so I know a lot about, you know, crime and punishment, you know, in the black community in Boston.
Roxbury.
But Roxbury learned so many more points about those things that I thought I was, you know, very well educated on. So, I mean, it's so dope that you put that information out there.
I appreciate that.
And I will say this too. I know I'm supposed to be interviewing you, but I got to give you your props. The content, some of the content that you have obtained. For example, I just recently, maybe a year ago, saw some footage that you had about the move incident in Philadelphia in 1978, and there was footage that I had never seen before.
Me neither.
I'd never seen certain views of the house. I'd never seen. Where does this guy get this stuff from?
It was basically before it all happened.
Yes.
Before the 85 or
Exactly,
84
way
incident.
before
This was in the 70s.
70s,
So they was complaining about them since then.
Yeah. So
I didn't know that neither.
It's just that the content that you have, I'm like, where does this guy get this stuff from? It's phenomenal, bro. It's not. I don't. Having you on the show is an honor for me, because the work that you put into making history digestible and available is just so important, man. And I have a couple of friends who are also fans of your work.
Well, introduce them to me.
Yeah, well, some of them are here in the studio. But what's next? What's next for you for the platform, and what other projects you got going on?
Well, you know, I do like freelance work. Some people might, you know, because like you said, there might be fans that might come to me for like, how do I obtain this footage? And can you point me in the right direction of how do I get this footage of Ted Koppel from 6 Day interviewing the survivors of, you know, the bombing of such and such. So I do that on the side, but what's happening is just being me and just growing wherever this leads me to. I don't seek clout, I don't want it, but it comes to me because it's just what I present, and if the people like it, I keep doing it.
Yeah, and you do
That's
such
it.
awesome work, man. If a person, if a fan of your channel wanted to request that you cover a certain topic, are you open to that? Has that ever been an option?
I do that all the time.
Really?
I have a Patreon.
Okay.
And of course, I still do it my way, my Patreon day, but I throw up what I want to. But if people request and ask, I try to get to it if I can find it. And of course, people who watch the channel, when they have asked me, oh, do you got more Jonestown footage? Someone asked me that last week.
Exactly.
Boom, and then you see the more Jonestown footage started coming because I found it. Now, if I can find it and I found a good supply of it, oh, and then if it's footage that I haven't seen, I'm excited, it gets my bones jumping, and I'm excited. But if it's something I'm bored with, like, I can't find nothing. And dude, I done covered this 1,000,000 times. How many times are we gonna see the Grassy Knoll or Jag Ruby? Give me something else, you know? So, of course. But I'm open to everything. The knowledge never sleeps. Okay?
Well, I mean, I will close by saying this. You know, I'm gonna be honest, man, in my opinion, my humble opinion, the internet has become a weird place.
Yes, sir.
Where unfortunately it's about gossip and likes and this and that. But when we have opportunities to learn, to grow, and to absorb our history by watching channels like yours, man, I feel that that's just so important. And of course, you know, where it relates to society, it's so important for us to see where we've gone, so that we can know where we're going.
Where we're going.
Yes.
Very common telling, very common speech right there.
Yeah.
You gotta know where you're going. I mean, you gotta know where you've been before you know where you're going.
Exactly.
Of course.
So thank you so much for being on the show,
Thank you so much for having me, man. I really appreciate you,
Yes,
for
sir.
real. All
And
right.
we'll be back next week.